Today I'm going to be telling you how to make a clean, mean, branded recruiting graphic. So let me break it down and we'll get into the branding. So first I started out with this black gradient, use this gradient tool over here, just pull down, and then I cut out the top portion of that with just a black square. So I use that as a layer mask. Then I did the same thing but going the opposite way. It makes it look like the floor and then a wall. Then I have the words good luck, and again I used a gradient which really makes it pop. And the branding for this graphic is like obviously going to be Air Force colors, and that's basically it. So it's just going to be blue and some like grayscale and white. So then I add in this week, which both of these fonts are used a lot within the brand. So again, you want to stay on the same font, and both of these are different styles of tungsten. So again, something that's going to keep it on brand. So then I'm using this bolt, which is their blue, the same bolt again. Both of them have gradient overlays. Both is just a black to white layer set to overlay, one set to overlay, one set to color dodge. And so all of this right now just looks like very uniform. It looks very on brand and it all fits well together. So we're gonna do the same thing with the bolt on the floor, and I just transformed that to fit the perspective. So all I did was basically just take it from like this to fit the floor perspective a little better. And then we add in the foot shadows, which are just black brushes, and I'll add all those in and then show you how I did it. So what I do is I just create a layer, go up, make sure I have a soft brush, and then just paint that in. So that's just one click. Then I make the brush hard, put on a layer mask, and click kind of right outside the darkest area, if that makes sense, and then invert that. So that is basically the shadow right there. And then we're just going to convert that to a smart object, put a filter on it, and blur it just a little bit so it's not so perfect. 2 maybe. And then you're just going to like transform it down to where it fits their foot. So all of these are just variations of basically that, and you're just gonna like tweak that and stuff to align it with like where the shadow is going, where the lighting's coming from. Then I added in a cloud and just put a drop shadow under it and made it a lot wider because it's kind of too gray most of the time. The Air Force brand uses a lot of like really white clouds and not too much just like gray clouds, if that makes sense. So did that. This is just a shadow for his body right here, and so on him we have an inner shadow on the top right. It's a color dodge layer. One on the bottom left, that's a linear burn, and then just a drop shadow to kind of make him pop off the background. So this is just where I cut him out. And then we added another cloud in, did the same effect. So I just put a drop shadow on it, added in a curves layer like the one I did before. And what that curves layer is bringing up the dark areas all the way up here, and then just making it a little bit more contrasty. So that's what gives it that look. And this is just a shadow of the player right here, and that was just a drop shadow that I converted to a layer. It's on 35% fill, set to linear burn. So I added in the player. I've got the same effects on him as I do the big guy. So color dodge on the top right, inner shadow on the bottom left, and then drop shadow. And then more shading down here for this guy. Same effects on him. And I just kind of made it all a little more contrasty. Gave him some shadows underneath, then added in more cloud, and then I just added that same white curves layer for them to just bump up the dark areas, and then added in the name layers, which kind of fit the same look and color and overlay as above. And then this just gets rid of their skin color, which really just like puts it even more on brand because it's only blues and whites. And then I just added in these lens flares to make it pop a little more, and that same color effect that I do to make it pop even more, and then it curves and 2 color lookups. So you really want to stay using the same logos, the same fonts, and the same colors. So if you haven't checked out my Patreon, go check that out. There are a couple PSDs on my Patreon that are accessible to anyone, and there are some that you'll have to subscribe to the Patreon to get access to learn from those as well. So go check that out. I'll be trying to update that every month, probably in the first 5 days of the month, to give some consistency, but also some leniency. And thanks to everyone who has supported me already. I appreciate you guys supporting all this.